I've seen various articles around the web, some interesting articles recently about Obama and race and the Chinese view of Obama and racism. When he was first elected, I remember I mentioned this on the last show, a short message that went around, a text message that went around the telephones that said, you know, the Americans electing a black president just shows that they've understood the wisdom of Deng Xiaoping, who said, black cat, white cat, as long as it catches a mouse, it's a good cat. Which is a joke, right? But I mean, they were very focused on and amazed that America had elected a black president. But since then, I've seen many articles analyzing an undertone of racism, you know, among the Chinese people toward, you know, Obama because of his Afro-American heritage. What do you think there's any merit to that, any truth to that? What do you think about that, from what you know about Chinese people? You're Chinese, you're both Chinese heritage, and you both know. What do you is there any truth to that, or is that exaggerated, or what?
No, I don't think it's. I would almost dismiss it as a kind of just kind of a casual talk out there on the street. I mean, because in the academic community, we do value that. We actually really put lots of value on his successfully being elected into the White House. Because, I mean, for example, I taught a course on the 1960s in the United States, and I know that I mean the African Americans actually had a really hard time back in the 1950s and 60s. And eventually they got their rights, like the Voting Rights of 1965 and also the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And Obama actually openly recognized his roots, his source of inspiration in that very Civil Rights movement. Yeah. And we applauded him. Yeah. In a sense, once again in China, there's always a general mentality that you actually would give your sympathy to the weak. And this is the race that is supposed to be the weak race. Yeah. I mean, in the States, and now they rose to power, they rose to prominence, and so it's very admirable.
Yeah, just ask, any comments, Stephen?
Well, I think the Chinese view on race is quite sort of complicated because China is a big nation, but 90% of the population is Han Chinese, despite you have these 55 other ethnic minorities. So. I haven't seen much of these, you know, race talks on Obama, but I think there's a famous recent example about another half-black person that sort of like made a lot of media rounds. I don't know if you heard about that girl in Shanghai who entered a reality show, a singing contest. Basically, she's half-black, and her father is basically, I think, an African-American, and her mother's local Shanghainese, but her father left when she was just born, so raised by a single mother. When she went to that reality show, you know, just to sing.
A Chinese reality show.
Exactly. But she somehow was under attack online for being half black. So there's a lot of nasty comments about her racial background, and she had to, you know, come out to defend herself by saying, "Look, you know, just because my father is black and he left us when I was born, that's not my fault, not my mom's fault, and all that kind of thing." So it was a very big story in Chinese media, sort of just reminding me of the Chinese view on race is still quite immature, could be, because, you know, a lot of Chinese are still not very used to dealing with racial diversity, because you live in a country where most of the people you deal with look just like you. Yeah. So I think, so it takes some time for them probably to develop sort of a more mature view on race. But I do think it's a bit complex in terms of how this whole, sometimes we say the superiority/inferiority complex in terms of like how they view other races.